So, here today we are going to be interviewing Sherlock Anthony Grant, and he's going to discuss with us his living experience in Guyana and his migration here to the Americas. Hi, Sherlock. How are you?
I'm doing quite lovely, my dear. Quite lovely.
That's wonderful. So to begin, tell us, what part of Guyana were you born in?
I was born at 3rd Street, Jonestown, Mahaica, East Coast, Demerara, Guyana, South America.
Wow. And are you part of a large family, a smaller family, and how is that there in Guyana? Are large families customary?
Well, large family in the sense of a lot of family and friends. There were 6 of us within my family, myself being the eldest, and I had 5 siblings.
Wow. And does you being the eldest sibling have any bearing on the responsibility that you have or anything like that?
Most definitely. The responsibility was tremendous. In our culture, the eldest child is responsible for everything. What his brothers and sisters do or fail to do. So it was very rewarding, but at the same time, punishing in a sense.
Oh man, I could imagine. So,
what type of responsibilities did you have as the eldest child? Did you have to do more things at home? Did you have to work at a younger age?
Not necessarily work, but I had to be the role model. Everything was expected of me. I had to ensure that my grades were up to par school-wise, right. And also my siblings' grades were up to par.
Yes,
I had to make sure that respect was eminent.
Yep.
In every cycle of the word. If my brothers or sisters failed to do something, my parents came to me and says, "Why did this happen?" Even though I may not have even been close to them when it all took place.
So they looked up to you in everything that you did.
Yes, ma'am.
And how long did you live in Guyana for?
I left there when I was 12. My 13th birthday was in New York. I migrated to Brooklyn, New York in 1974. And I've been living in the States ever since. Mostly all my formal education was conducted here in the States.
But while you were in Guyana, is there anything that you remembered schooling-wise that was important to you or had a huge impact on your life?
Absolutely. In Guyana, education is the key. Education is number one. I remember going to Mahaica Government School, it was called at that time, and we had from kindergarten to 12th grade in the same building.
Wow.
There, if you just pass one class today, and the next time you come back, you just went up to a different classroom.
Wow.
So it was very, very important. If you failed, everyone for you, and they know that you didn't do as well.
How big were your class sizes when, like, grade-wise?
Grade-wise, anywhere from 20 to about 35 per class.
What subjects did you learn in Guyana that aren't taught here in the States?
Well, we basically was taught everything except here in the States we didn't learn American history.
Obviously.
In Guyana, we also did not learn history of the Caribbean.
Oh.
I mean, we learned history of the Caribbean, which we didn't do here.
Oh, gotcha.
But we did math, we did English. We utilized a different formula to get to the answers. But we basically did the math, the English, the sciences, those type of things were all basically the same.
So after 12th grade, was it customary in Guyana to move on to higher education, like college?
Well, it depends. A lot of times higher education costs.
Yeah.
So not too many folks had the opportunity to go, but normally what would happen, the family would pool their money together
Right.
to ensure that that particular child or children make it to the next level.
Okay. So, what was it that made you and your family decide that you wanted to move to America?
Well, like I mentioned previously, I was approximately 12 years of age.
Right.
I think opportunity. Personally, I did not want to come to America. I cried. I did everything not to come to America. But my parents at that time, they says, listen, we're here. We come in and get you. There are more opportunities. And, we did not have to say, well, we're not coming.
Right. Well,
when your parents spoke, you listen and you carry through whatever was said.
So were you happy with the choice of coming to America, or would you have rather, if you could, go back and actually stay in Guyana throughout your entire life? Like, would you have rather done that or stay here?
Yes. Well, once you get introduced to candy and you know how sweet it is, it's kind of hard not to go back. But to me, growing up or prior to leaving, Guyana was everything to me. It was my paradise. I relished everything about Guyana, the discipline which was installed in us as kids. Like I mentioned previously, the education, the respect, the fresh fruits. You go pick it from the trees.
right.
The fish, you go catch it, on a daily basis. So those type of things is very important. I've been over here for quite some time now, so it's kind of difficult. But I try to go back to Guyana every chance I get, and I do. As I get older, my plans are to probably move back there. If not on a permanent basis, especially with these winters we've been having, because it's very hard on an elderly person, I think, over here compared to the climate, which is something else I missed as well.
Yeah.
So how was the transition coming here when you were 12 years old? Was it hard transitioning from school in Guyana to going to school here in the Americas? Was it completely different? Did you have culture shock at all?
Well, it was kind of funny because when we came, I spoke with a different accent. So even though my number one language was English, they tried to put me in English as a second language class because of my accent.
Wow.
So my parents had to fight that. The transition itself, it was kind of a culture shock because back there, when you're given an assignment or you're given work, it must be completed. Over here, I went to school and they give you homework, and either you do it or you don't.
Yeah.
Back there was there was no ifs, ands, and buts.
Yeah.
And you may not want to hear this, but we got whoopings in school when you were there. So not child abuse, but actually whoopings. So it was detrimental to your health to do your work.
Yeah. Wow.
So describe what Guyana was like. What else do you remember growing up there? What would you say that you wish that I or any of the children that you've had have gotten to experience that you experienced in Guyana?
Well, one of the first thing I would like, because Guyana, we're known as the land of many waters.
Right.
We're also known of the land of 6 nationalities. We have 6 different cultures coexisting peacefully. Within the families down there, we have whites, we have Chinese, we have Amerindians, which are the local folks, we have Afro-Americans, we have Indo-Guyanese, we have Portuguese, and everybody all coincide and mingle. When I first came over here, that was a shock to me because everyone was, and I'm talking in the 70s, you had the blacks on one side, the whites on one side, the Hispanic on one side.
Right.
And that was kind of heart-wrenching to me because we were all like over here, we should all be Americans because in Guyana, regardless of what you are, we were all Guyanese.
Right.
And that transition just took me a while to kind of get used to. But, eventually I fell into place. So I would like for you guys to experience that piece of that culture. I would like for you to experience what it feels like to have a village to raise a child. If I did something wrong on the way home and I lived in the country, we did not have a telephone. But by the time I get home, and I used to run home, my parents already knew what I did, and, the results were not, well, this person did that to me. If it was an elder, that elder was absolutely correct.
Right.
And I was wrong as a child. So that type of thing, I think, help you to turn out to be a little better than most, especially over here. In my profession right now as an educator, I see a lot of things that sometimes I want to introduce or to bring over here, but I know if I do that, I probably will be out of a job as a teacher.
So it seems that when you were a kid in Guyana, you had many more responsibilities than I would say your average 12-year-old does now. So do you remember, would you do things like play games? Do you remember any specific games that your culture would take part in as a child?
Absolutely. We did lots of games. My favorite game was a game called cricket. And cricket is known as the sport of kings because we were British Guyana at that time. And I was very, very good at that game. When I left, you had different age groups. Even though I was 12, I was playing on the 18 team. So the next level was almost professional level. And when I came up to the States, there was no such thing as cricket. The closest we came to cricket was baseball. And then I found out that baseball was derived from cricket. So that was rough. We also had track and field, which we did a lot of running, soccer, but we call it football there until I came up here and realized that there's an American football as well. So those games were, we did a lot of water sports since, Guyana, we did a lot of swimming and stuff like that. So those type of things I always remember, and learning it as a child, once I came over here, it just made me accentuated it more.
Yeah. Here in the Americas, sometimes sports and games can be taken just as seriously as someone's education. Do you think that was the same in Guyana, that sports would be equal to your education, or would it come second? Or
sports were definitely second. Education was first because it was installed in us. For instance, if you play soccer and you break a leg, your brains will still be functioning better compared to the other way around.
Right.
So education, education, education. That was what was stressed to us as children or as a child growing up in Guyana.
Is it typical for every student in Guyana or every child in Guyana, much like in America, to go to school, or were there people that they couldn't afford to get their children through school, or was it much like in America where all the children actually do go to school?
Well, in Guyana, for a country like Guyana, 95% of us are educated. Of course, you're going to have your one or two that don't go, but like I said, most of the time you don't have a choice. Over here, what I've seen, a lot of kids tell mom and dad, I'm not going to school today, I don't feel well, and they don't really go. In Guyana, they will grab you by your hands and walk you to that school door, and you best don't leave until you get that day's lesson.
Interesting. Could you describe the landscape in Guyana, what your town looked like, and where you lived?
Well, I lived in a place called Mahaika, which is about 25 miles south of the capital, which is Georgetown. It's flat, but it's also kind of mountainous. A lot of rivers, a lot of waters, a lot of creek. A lot of vegetation. It's very green. Our winter is the rainy season over there. We're located on the northern part of South America, and we're nestled in between Suriname on your right as you're looking at the map, and Venezuela on your left. And beneath us is Brazil. So we also have a piece of the rainforest within
wow.
the landscape of Guyana.
Interesting.
Yeah, we also have the Atlantic Ocean to the north.
Oh, okay. Do you have any favorite foods that you remember eating in Guyana?
My favorite dish is a food called pepper pot. This is a dish that served on holiday times, particularly. It came from the original folks there, which are the Amerindians, and basically it's well seasoned, and you cook it until the meat basically drop off the bone. It's very, very delicious. And the second food I like was something called cook up, which is like, you have your rice and you could put some beans in there, some meat in there. I invite you guys to partake with me anytime you get ready. I would definitely invite you, and then you will see why I relish those two dishes.
Sounds delicious.
Do you think the food is better in Guyana, or do you like American food more?
I mean, I like American food because I've been up here, but if I have a choice, I would prefer Guyanese food, only because, like I said, mostly everything is fresh. It's cooked every day. Very rarely do you find stuff that come out of a can. For instance, your vegetables, green beans, you pick it directly off your tree in your yard. A lot of folks plant their own food, okra, eggplants, all that stuff. Okay, what am I going to cook today? Look out in your backyard. Okay, this is what I want. And like I said previously, you go and you get your hook or you got a cast net, you go catch your fish, you bring it home, you clean it, and you prepare your meal.
Wow.
So, what kind of music did you listen to in your childhood? Like, what kind of genres, or maybe even some artists that you used to like to listen to?
Genre. Well, in Guyana, one of the things that I loved is that we're exposed to all music, from the classics to reggae, calypso, rock and roll, you name it, anything that you want to listen to. But my favorite is reggae music. I love reggae music because it's very, it allows me to express myself. As a person myself, I dabbled in a little bit of chanting type reggae music at a younger age. So I understand the philosophy behind it, but I also dance to calypso and rock and roll. But also in Guyana, we do a lot of ballroom type dancing because, again, the British influence. So we do the waltz and stuff like that as well.
Okay. So, did you have any nursery rhymes as a child? Anything like the kind of nursery rhymes we have here in America?
I think some of them might be the same. We had like Old MacDonald had a farm, So when I see the commercial today that, do you know Old MacDonald was a terrible speller, I kind of remember that. We had stuff like Hey Diddle Diddle, the Cat and the Fiddle, stuff like that. We also have some games, some nursery rhymes where you sing or put songs so the kids could learn, for instance, your alphabet and so on and so forth, and made those into games. When you were learning your 2 times tables, you sing 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4. So it became much more like a game instead of learning, which also helped the students to, learn better.
What customs or holidays did you take part in Guyana that we may not have here, or that you brought over here to America with you that you still celebrate now?
Well, we have something called Pagua because of the Indian influence. We have Diwali. We have Independence Day. We have Christmas. We have Boxing Day. Over here, probably the only one I still celebrate is probably Christmas because this is mostly the American influence. Boxing Day is basically the day after Christmas. We don't go to work. Everybody sit home. The elderly, they get nice, if you understand what I'm saying. And their parties, go to the house and eat and drink and socialize. I think that terminology came from back in the days when the kings and queens had said, okay, this is their relaxation. So that's when the boxing normally took place.
Gotcha.
And so we have that. But Christmas is the only one I actually brought with me because based on my job and everything else I've done, I really don't have the opportunity or the time to celebrate. And a lot of times, since we all migrated to different parts of the United States, it's very difficult to get a bunch of us to say, okay, we're going to celebrate this or celebrate that.
Right. What's the typical clothing like in Guyana? Do you dress like how we do here, or is it different mostly because of the weather? Also, I could imagine, and climate.
Yeah, I definitely would caveat on the last piece, the weather, because Guyana is tropical. So most of the time we dress is like the way you guys dress in the summertime.
Right.
A lot of shorts. But for some reason, it looks or feels more comfortable than we do it over here.
A lot of people, when they come to the Americas, think that maybe people dress too revealing or too different. Do you feel that back at home, women dress differently than they do here in the Americas?
Well, I might be prejudiced in this. I love revealing this. No, I'm just kidding. Well, being in the tropical climate, I'm exposed to it on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of sea walls and beaches, and like I say, the temperature. But there's a time and a place. Over here, definitely, sometimes it might be, 30 degrees outside, and somebody's walking around with something that you know what I mean? So from that sense, I would definitely say yes. But the weather plays a major role over there, so I really don't see anyone doing anything that's inappropriate.
Okay. Now, what was religion like in Guyana? What was like the general overall religion? Was it Christianity or?
We have several religions, but the predominant was Roman Catholic. We also had Anglican. We had Hindu. We had Muslim. Protestant. Some people even say that we have voodoo over there. So it all depends upon, which one that you want to pursue. We also have Rastafarian, over there. So, but religion is also a major role within the Guyanese culture. So it depends upon, a lot of times what your mom or what your dad was or is. Normally that's what you become.
Mm-hmm. So what is your religion? What did you follow?
Well, I studied a little bit of everything. My parents were Methodists. Later on, I changed to becoming a Catholic. And as I grew older, I changed to a Rastafarian.
Gotcha. So overall, what's something that you want all of us and anybody who learns about Guyana to take away from it?
Well, we have a very contagious disease over there. Very, very contagious. And I would like for each and every one of you guys to catch it. It is called love and affection.
You scared us for a second.
I saw you guys was pondering what's coming next. Because we're very loving people.
Yes.
We care about each other a lot. And we try to share basically what we have. If I have a shirt and you like that shirt and you ask me, I will call just to take that shirt and give it to you. Because that means you want it more than me.
Right. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking your time out of your day.
Bye, Shirley.
Oh, the pleasure is mine. And remember that disease. Let it spread, please.
We will.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Have a blessed evening.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.